So I'm gonna preview Oklahoma football's season schedule. I'm gonna give you a record prediction and their first year in the SEC. All right, let's get right into it. So first they played Temple. I expect Oklahoma to beat Temple. It's at home on a Friday night. Um, Pretty sure it's around 6 Central Time kick. 5-6. I'm pretty sure Temple's expected to be terrible. I think OU's going to crush Temple and get a win here. So OU's going to be 1-0 headed in to a game against Houston. Houston has a new coach in Willie Fritz. He used to be the coach at Tulane. And his last two seasons at Tulane, he went 11-3 and 12-2. 2 years ago, beating USC in the Cotton Bowl. He's a really offensive-minded coach, and Houston's returning starting quarterback, Donovan Smith, who last year had 2,800 yards passing, 22 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, and a 63 overall QBR. Also rushing for 428 yards. He's a pretty good QB. I expect him to be really good. And Willie Fritz is a great coach, but even his first season at Tulane, they weren't too good. I expect a little bit of a rebuild here at Houston. Houston's better than Temple. Maybe it's a little bit closer of a game against OU, but OU's at home. I expect them to beat Houston as well. Then you got Tulane. John Summerall, head coach. Michael Pratt is gone. A lot of rebuilding to do, and they've lost a ton of players. Tulane's going to be worse than Houston, and this is going to be another OU win. I expect OU to crush Tulane, crush Temple. Houston, not so sure. Depends on how good Oklahoma will be, but I think Oklahoma will be better than they were last year, so I think they'll beat Houston by at least a couple touchdowns. Now Tennessee, the first SEC game of Oklahoma of all time. It's going to be electric. The atmosphere is going to be amazing, insane. The crowd's going to go crazy. Returning Josh Heupel, the head coach of Tennessee, last quarterback to win a national title at OU. There will be a big applause for him. I expect him to get a big welcome, and I expect OU to be ready, pumped. This is going to be a huge game, and because of that, OU is going to win. I know that Tennessee's got Nico Iamaleava. I think that's how you say it. 5-star, supposed to be great. He had 27 yards rushing, 151 yards passing against Iowa in a 35-0 victory. They went 9-4 last year. And I think they'll be about the same or a little bit better. I think they'll be 9-3 in the regular season instead of 8-4 like they were last year. And they got James Pierce Jr., who's supposed to be the first pick in the NFL draft. He's an elite pass rusher. They got a great D-line, which will test OU's O-line because we don't know how good they'll be. But because this is OU's first SEC game and Josh Heupel's coming back, the crowds are going to be insane. OU's going to be ready for this game. I think they're going to beat Tennessee. Then we go to Auburn. And Auburn, returning starting quarterback Peyton Thorne. Hugh Freeze's second year. Peyton Thorne's a dual-threat quarterback. He's not a very good passer. He only passed for 1,700 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions last year. But he's a very good rusher, and Venables has a bad history with rushing quarterbacks. But Auburn is 12th in the SEC in returning production. I think Oklahoma's going to win. I think Auburn will be a little bit better than they were last year, but Oklahoma's going to win this game. Auburn is looking up, though, because they had the 10th-ranked recruiting class coming in this year with a 5-star receiver in Cam Coleman and a big-time edge rusher. So look for Auburn to be pretty good this year. If not this year, I think they're going to build up next year because Hugh Freeze is a great coach. Then we got Texas. OU will be 5-0 headed into the Texas game. Quinn Ewers will be a Heisman candidate. I expect Texas to be 5-0 headed into it too. But Texas got 11 players drafted, including 2 big-time defensive tackles. I don't think you can return that production in 1 year. I think Texas will be worse than they were last year. OU will be better, and OU beat Texas last year. I think OU's going to beat Texas and be 6-0 headed into another home SEC game against South Carolina. South Carolina, Spencer Rattler left. They don't have very much talent compared to these other teams that he's playing. It might be a letdown game for OU, but we're at home, our second home SEC game. It'll be extremely loud, hyped up again. So I think OU's going to beat South Carolina. They went 5-7 last year. Shane Bieber's on the hot seat. I don't think they're good enough to beat OU. Then we got Ole Miss. Ole Miss could be really good this year. We don't know. Lane Kiffin just led Ole Miss to their best season ever, and they're returning a ton of production. Jackson Dart's really good. He could be a Heisman candidate. He's a dual-threat quarterback. Brent Venables has big-time trouble with dual-threat quarterbacks. They also have Walter Nolan, a huge defensive tackle get out of Texas A&M. He's an elite defensive tackle. They have 7 other 4-star transfers coming in. I think OU's going to lose this game. They're going to be 7-1 headed into a game against Maine. I think if OU was at home against Ole Miss, it would be a toss-up. I still think it's kind of a toss-up, but since they're on the road, I'm giving the win to Ole Miss. Then we got Maine. I mean, what do you want me to say? They're going to beat Maine. So skip that. 8-1. Now we got Missouri. Theo Weiss, former OU wide receiver, is the number 2 receiver for Missouri. Luther Burden returning. Brady Cook returning. Their offense is going to be great, just like it was last year, a bunch of returning production. But they're 68th in returning production and defense. They've lost a lot of players on defense. I don't expect them to be as good as they were last year. I think OU goes into Missouri and wins. It's a old Big 12 rivalry. OU's going to be ready for this because of that, and they're going to go into Missouri and win. They'll be 9-1 headed in to the Alabama game. Alabama, Jalen Milroe, returning starter, dual threat. Again, Brent Venables has trouble with dual threat quarterbacks. Kalen DeBoer, an extremely good offensive mind. He'll use Jalen Milroe in a great way. And a lot of Bama's O-line is returning. Caleb Downs and Dallas Turner are gone, and they've also have 40% of their returning production coming back, number 125 in the country. But DeBoer has a history of not losing. They have a bunch of their O-line coming back. And Jalen Milroe's a dual-threat quarterback. I think this is a really close game, but I think Alabama beats OU in Norman, so OU is 9-2. Then we got LSU. LSU loses Heisman QB Jaden Daniels. The defense was terrible last year. I don't think you can go from terrible to being really good on defense in just a year. So I expect their defense to be a little bit better than last year, but I don't expect them to be very good. Harold Perkins is very good. Still, defense is not going to be very good. And lost to Heisman QB. I think they'll be worse than they were last year. I think OU goes into LSU and wins and finishes the regular season 10-2, going to the playoff. Because if you're 10-2 in the SEC, you're almost certainly guaranteed a spot in the playoff. So, OU, first season in the SEC, I expect it to be good. I expect OU to be very good this year, have a chance to go to Atlanta, have a chance to win a national championship. I think we're going 10-2. Yep, Boomer Sooner.